Okay, so here we are now dealing with number 2. And number 2 says, which polynomial is a perfect square trinomial? And we are given 4 answer choices, and we have to select the ones that are perfect square trinomials. Now, first we have to define what a perfect square trinomial is. And a perfect square trinomial is something that can be written either as a minus b quantity squared or a plus b quantity squared. So if any of our trinomials can be written in either one of these forms, that means it's a perfect square trinomial. So that's essentially what we're going to be looking at, going through these answer choices. So for the first answer choice, we're going to have 49x squared minus 28x plus 16. And I have to actually be more specific here. So dealing with trinomials, this is going to be of the form ax minus b and ax plus b. So with a quick glance here, we could realize that our a in all of these questions is essentially going to be the square root of the coefficient that is in front of the quadratic term. And that's because when we actually multiply out any one of these terms, our first, so let me just expand on ax minus b, for example. So we get a squared x squared minus 2abx plus b squared. And then the same would happen for here, but instead of a minus, we have a plus here. So a squared x squared plus 2abx plus b squared. So with this realization, we have to set our a right here, our a to be the square root of this number here. So the square root of 49 is 7. So we're going to take our a to be 7. Now, going along here, because this is of the form, we already realized that we are going to be using the a squared x squared minus 2abx plus b squared form. Because it closely resembles the signs of this first answer choice. So because we have our a, we have to now find what our b is. So substituting a for 7, we have minus 14bx. And now we know that the value of b that completes this would be b equals 2. So far so good. These first two terms line up with our assumptions. But now when we get to this third term, this term has to be equal to b squared. And in our case, since our assumption that b is 2, b squared is going to be 4, which is not equal to 16. So therefore, this is not a perfect square trinomial. Okay? So it went against our assumption. So that means our assumption was false, and therefore it can't be factored into a perfect square trinomial. And this answer choice and this written answer also says the same thing. So going to the second answer choice, we have 4a squared minus 20a plus 25. And right here, we have to set our a once again equal to the square root of this coefficient. So a is equal to 2. And then, because we're dealing with a minus plus situation, we have to find what b is. So in this case, it would be minus 2 times a. A is 2, so minus 4b equals 20. In this case, b would be 5. And let's check if our assumption is correct. So this term has to be b squared over here. And because in this case, b squared is 5 squared, which is 25, everything checks out, our assumptions check out, and we can write this trinomial as a perfect square trinomial using this ax minus b quantity squared representation. So we can actually write this as 2x minus 5 squared using the same form of a perfect square trinomial. So with that being said, this would be, so this is perfect square trinomial. And now we can move on to third answer choice. Our third answer choice here is 25b squared minus 20b minus 16. So because we are dealing with, so essentially, we can, again, once again, go through the assumptions. So we're going to say that in this case, the square root of 25 is going to be 5. So our a value is 5. And then right here, this would mean that minus 2 times 5b is equal to 20, meaning that our b value, sorry, minus 20, so our b value would be 2. However, assuming that our b value is 2, we get b squared is equal to 2 squared equals 4, which is not 16. So this is not a perfect square trinomial. Okay? And then the fourth answer choice here, we get 16x squared minus 24x minus 9. And once again, square root of 16 is a equals 4. And then we're going to have minus 2 times 4b has to be minus 24. So minus 2 times 4 is 8. So that means that b has to be 3 in this case. And here our assumption does hold true because b squared is equal to 3 squared is equal to 9. So that means that this equation, even though this equation does have an a and does have a b solution, the fact of the matter is, when we look at the two forms that we could possibly have a perfect square trinomial in, we see that neither one of these forms can be met because there are two minus signs right here. And also, really, b squared equals 3 squared has to equal to negative 9 because we do have to consider the sign here. So ultimately, we would assume that it could be factored, but because of the signs, it actually can't be factored. So we say that it is not a perfect squared trinomial. Okay. So in that case, the correct answer choice is answer choice 2, and this written response here does a good job at showing that. They are using the complete the square method. I tried to take what I consider to be a more simpler approach. So I'm going to write this as the correct solution. Good job. And that is number 2.